do it for Miami Dolphins. The pressure, he's in trouble. Loses the football. Touchdown! Got it! You have got to be kidding me. Jalen Waddle. It's a Dolphin touchdown. Throwing deep upfield on the near side. Man open. Touchdown! Looking deep. He's got it there. Touchdown! The run from Tua Tagovailoa. Touchdown! He's going deep. He's got it for a touchdown again. Touchdown! Beautiful day to be a Dolphin fan. 1, 2, 3, 3. Let's go!
All right, huddle up, huddle up. We're gonna crank these engines up on one. All right? Wait, 80. Wait, set. Drivers, start your engines.
This is the Finish Line.
I coached some great offensive linemen in the past. Larry Little, Dwight Stevenson, Jim Langer, all Hall of Famers, and Richmond Webb belongs to that same group.
Here are your hosts, legendary Miami Dolphins left tackle Richmond Webb, Reason, and Mr. Ballgame.
What is good, Fin Nation? What's good? It's your boy Reason, and we are back here for another one as we welcome you in. And at the Finish Line, as always, I'm joined by my co-host, the legendary Richmond Webb, the triple OG, Mr. Ballgame. We got a couple things before I want to pass it over here in a sec, obviously, like I always do. But I got to address something quickly here, okay? Because Scotty says, so I hear the season's over and we should just pack it in. Listen, all right? I'm hearing everyone, panicking. Oh, what they did over the middle of the field was the same thing that happened to us last year against San Fran and the Chargers. Well, they're two different things because the Chargers had the layer of rerouting receivers, but I digress. Anyways, the middle of the field stuff, and McDaniel's not adjusting. So what? Are we expecting that we're going to open up our playbook in joint practice on August 8th and 9th and show every counterpunch in the playbook that this team has been building off of all offseason? Trust me, if anyone watched the film and knew what was going to happen to them this year and the counter punches that were going to need to be installed, it's this coaching staff. But y'all expecting them to be showing them off day 2 joint practices, August 9th, when the snaps don't matter till September. Okay, let's get over that first. Okay, now Mike White. Oh my Lord. Oh, today. Oh man. He QB1. All right, listen. The guy who a week ago, Skylar, only over the last week has overtaken Skylar. Now he's QB1. That's number 1. Number 2, are we doing this again? Sorry, ball game. First it was Josh Rosen. Then it was Fitzpatrick. Then it was Jacoby Brissett. Then it was Teddy Bridgewater. Then it was Skylar Thompson. Now we're at Mike White. This is the definition of throwing SHIT at the wall and hoping it sticks. Let's relax. The answers we're getting that I told you we would get are what? What did I predict when we got Isaiah Wynn? Starting left guard by the start of the season. Those are the type of start answers we're getting. Eichenberg, et cetera, et cetera. There's nothing to be answered about Tua Tagovailoa in the starting quarterback position because these same people who were naming and listing off all those other people as quarterback 1 and fear-mongering all of you at the same time, this time at training camp last year over Skylar, How did they look when Tua ended up in the MVP conversation in the first 12 weeks and it took concussions to get him out of it? And yet they were telling all you last training camp Skyler was MVP one. Sorry, QB1, while Tua goes out and is in the MVP conversation. So let's A, relax. B, start listening to people who know ball and not people who react off emotion. And C, let's start listening to people who have either played the position or if they haven't played the position, know how to properly evaluate the position or properly evaluate players. Let's start listening and taking into account people who you wouldn't want to evaluate your latest bowel movement. Okay? Thank you very much. Now, all that said, baby, okay? Because that was it. Because I just gunned down all those people, and it took me, 3 minutes? So now that that's all said, let's move on. Hall of Fame. Richmond, you were there. The energy was real. And, sir, next man up is you. Now, I hear people be saying Clayton, and that's all fine and dandy. But almost 90% of this fan base, well, that's a high number. Let's put it at 80% of the fan base. Their favorite player is probably Dan Marino. You protect that man's blind side for a freaking decade. I've said it before. I said it again. You can't speak about the left tackle position in general, let alone in the 1990s, without speaking about your name. The only guys on your level, one was a Ram, one was a Bengal. Okay? Munez and Pace were the only ones on your level, man. And that's just a fact. And so you cannot speak, and you're even on the all-decade team, the NFL's own all-decade list. So listen, I've said it before, there's no sexy interception stat. There's no sexy touchdown stat. They don't count pancakes and sexualize them like they do all these other stats. So people will never really give you what you need to be given. But I'm here to give you your flowers, bro. And the push needs to begin because I said it. As much as Zach Thomas deserved that spot, you deserved it just as much. And that's why Zach Thomas even mentioned you, Richmond, on that roundtable panel. He mentioned you by name as one that should be brother. So how was your experience at the Hall of Fame? How was it mingling with the Dolphins? And, man, how does it feel to know that you're going to be there one day, bro, by hook or by crook? I have a beautiful bus that I'm gonna be the first to take a picture with it, kissing it on the cheek, and Ballgame can be on the other side, and we can each kiss it on the cheek at the same time.
Man, you know what, man? It was a good weekend. Like you said, Dolphins definitely represented. They probably had I think we had the most fans in attendance, and it didn't even look close. I mean, the other ones represented, but not like we did.
Yeah.
And man, I actually met a lot of people that was giving shout outs to you in Ballgame. They was looking for y'all. So when y'all come to South Florida or whatever, people want to show y'all love. So when they find y'all don't be hiding.
Bro, I'm gonna be Carmen Sandiego, bro. I'm gonna get my Carmen Sandiego on.
Yeah, man. Actually, it was a guy I met. He actually listened to the show. Well, a bunch of people listened to the show, but he brought this helmet. And I think he's Big D in the chat. I don't know if he's in there. I got to scroll through there and check his name, Daryl Hinton. And brought one of my old helmets, and I signed it for him. And we got a chance to kind of chop it up and stuff like that. So that's what I really enjoyed, interacting with the fans. And we was all happy for Zach, this and that. So, and then we, his party after that, got to see a bunch of my teammates. Man, it was a really good weekend. So, yeah, I don't have.
Sounds like you lost your voice, brother. Sounds like you lost your voice.
I don't know how. That's the thing. I'm telling you, Monday I was really struggling, but it's coming back, but slowly, but surely. But man, I had a great time.
Sounds like it.
Triple OG.
Hey,
Triple OG.
I appreciate anyone willing to come up and extend love. If you see us in the area, you see me out and about, that's all good. Just be slow in your approach. You know what I'm saying?
And if it's not a Home Depot, turn the other way.
I'm certified. I suffer from PTSD. I don't like sudden movements. I don't like people moving around and putting your hands in pockets and doing all that stuff. I'm gonna show as much love as I possibly can. I appreciate everything that happens, man, from this platform and whatever we receive in regards to love, because all we try to do is extend that back and give people the truth about you know what I'm saying, the game that we love in this team. So I'm all for it, man. And you know, when I get to mention to my buddies, man, that I get to sit up here with you two every week, and they be like, Richmond, well, yeah, man, that dude Richmond, I mean that dude Reason, man, on YouTube, man, he know what the hell he talking about. I said, yeah, they're my dogs, man. They said, well, how the hell you pull that off? I said, man, don't play with me. Y'all know I'm certified. Y'all know I know what I'm doing. And they be like, yeah, man, y'all got one hell of a thing going, man. Them dudes is official. And Richmond gonna be a Hall of Famer, and Reason gonna go down as one of the best they ever do it in the game. I said, yeah, you know what I'm saying? So, you know, but it all starts with us just being humble, man, and really wanting to give the people really what they deserve, which is, you know what I'm saying, true content with a real knack for understanding the game itself and just educating people about it so they can be better, so that the fan base ain't out here just a bunch of fanatics without no knowledge behind them. Because that makes you a bunch of bumbling idiots, in my opinion. But if you know what you're talking about when you're talking about something, then you can be passionate about it with knowledge base behind it. That makes you even more deadly. And that's what I want. I want a bunch of deadly Dolphin fans out here disputing all these fools out here that don't know what's going on. So I appreciate you guys as much as anything else. And you better know, Richmond, when they call your name, dog, I'm showing up and showing out for you, boss, man. It's gonna be one hell of a weekend.
I'm looking forward to it. We're gonna have a good time.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, and like in terms of like Tua specifically, I mean, Tua, you know, we've said this, the offense has been sputtering actually for 3 days since the scrimmage, but you know, we've had plenty of days during practice where Tua has been carving up our defense when they've been one-on-one, and let's be honest, that defense, they have been shutting down the Falcons the last 2 days. That defense has been absolutely dominant. And people seem to forget, you know, this is a defense in Atlanta that added Calais Campbell, Bud Dupree, Jesse Bates. They got a new defensive coordinator in Atlanta. You know, I actually thought they were going to see, I've said on here, I thought there'd be a sneaky good NFC South team, but I still think we should dominate them. That doesn't stop the fact that I think we should dust them. So, you know, but it is what it is. So we're going to get into all that. We're going to get into all the recap review. We got some video highlights. The one thing I do want to talk about before we get into everything, though, I want to get your guys' thoughts on it. And we'll kind of segue into it off this from PL. And he's been a member for 6 months, and he used his membership super chat to say this. Could you give a synopsis of how you're able to meet both Richmond and Ballgame and then put them together, this great trio for the community? If I remember correctly, it was as simple as me and Ballgame met on the Tuesday night panel, so we've known each other since October 2019. And then when I started this channel, Richmond was one of the first guests I had on the channel, and then what was it? The Brawl Network.
Yep.
Before when the Brawl Network was actually on a high trajectory, it was actually on a trajectory, and then the owner imploded, and it just became an absolute mess. But it was like the Brawl Network was another version of Locked On, right? How Locked On has Dolphins, Chargers, all that. The Brawl Network was the next, and we were the main. And right away, you guys remember, I joined the Brawl Network, and I got like the head of Brawl Network within like a week. I was the head of the Dolphins like division of Brawl Network because it was just so like such disorder, even though it was on a high trajectory. And we just like, I think we outgrew them. Yeah, we became like the official podcast of the Brawl Network. They imploded and we're like, yo, peace. And but it was as simple as like, it was originally going to be me, Richmond, Ballgame, and EM, but EM's schedule, I was like, eh. So then I hit up Richmond, I hit up Ballgame. What would you like to do? Blah, blah, blah. Would you guys be down to do this? They said yes, and there you go. That's basically, it was a pretty simple story. There's no like great lore behind it, really. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, and ever since then, we've been doing it since 2020 or 2021. Tua's rookie year, right?
Tua's rookie year,
yeah. So 2020. Yeah, that's the lore. So let me ask. And let me ask you this. And the whole thing is obviously football analysis. Let me get this right. Legend. There you go. Let me get the right. And then ex-coach, right? So that was supposed to be the whole trio. So let me ask you this. Let's start off before we get into the recap. This is the segue, okay? From a coaching and a former player perspective, we've now into the second year of McDaniel's reign. I don't know if you guys saw it today, but there was no orange jersey given out. No orange jersey. Okay,
I think that was my design.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about this, because Tua talked about how nothing he does is basically without intent in terms of McDaniel. Okay, so let's do it. Let's start with you, Ballgame. As a coach, what kind of message are you trying to send? Is that how unhappy you are with how day one of joint practice went compared to your expectation? Because I mean, you know, it's funny, Ballgame. When I tweeted out heading into joint practice, I made a Vic Fangio defensive tweet, right? With the Vic Fangio. I said I knew our defense was going to eat, but I was very interested to see how our offense was going to cook against a newly built defense. As a coach, what kind of message did you try to send? Is that I'm not happy based upon my expectation?
Well, it's not even so much that I'm not happy. The question becomes, are you happy? If we're going to be walking around and having conversations in the community about how great we're supposed to be this year, what our expectations are, is this really truthfully what you want to be remembered as? Is this the kind of effort you guys are going to go out and provide to back up what the claims that you're making? You know, and so he kind of, I think really what he did more than anything, he pushed it right back on them. You know what I'm saying? And I'm not gonna reward anyone for subpar performances, but at the same time, what level are you holding yourselves to? Right? You're professionals, and if we are better than these guys, let's go out and be better than these guys and do that every practice. We don't practice down. We don't go down to the level of the competition that we're facing. We make them meet us where we are. If we're the better team, prove it. And that gives them something to have to look at themselves in the mirror and decide whether or not they have it to meet us where we are or not. And, you know, him not giving out the jersey is just one of those, I'm not going to reward them. I'm not going to reward you guys for bad performances, right? We shouldn't even be dealing with these guys. But the fact that we get out here with an opportunity to get some good work in, let's do what we do. But yesterday wasn't it. So nobody gets anything. Now we're going to have to start from ground zero. What we did when we did previously in the weeks before, good on you, but that ain't what we at today. So let's get it together. Tighten up your bootstraps. Y'all look around at each other and we figure out if this is really who you truly want to be. Because we practice half-ass, you're going to play half-ass, and then everybody going to come for you regardless of whether you want to or not. We're going to be united in this thing. We put a whole lot of prep and time into getting y'all ready and putting the game plan together or these practices together to make sure everybody's getting something that they need to make themselves better. How you going to reward us as coaches? We did our job. Why y'all didn't do y'all's? That's the real message. That's what he sent more than anything, because you can't have three phases all out of sync. You know what I mean? Offense got to do their part, defense got to do their part, and the coaches got to definitely bring theirs. So if the coaches feel like they did what they need to do to have them ready, and the defense showed up, but the offense didn't show up, then you got a weak link, and somebody got to look over at it. It ain't the defense responsibility to look over at them, but everybody looking at each other like, hey man, we got to step it up. And that's just being professionals about it, right? But that happens at every level. At the end of the day, somebody that you know ain't supposed to be on your level, they gonna always give you the better challenge if you're not prepared for it, or if you just in your mind tell yourself, yeah, well, I ain't gotta worry about them. We know we better than them. Yeah, well, that's when they sneak up on you and they bust you in your shit. So that's what happened. And Mike's gonna be walking around taking. Hey, y'all know I ain't
right.
lying.
You ain't
don't
right,
want
bro.
to get.
Hey, it's the old Homer Simpson line. It's funny because it's true.
True.
All right,
Yeah.
you know what I mean. So hey, bro, you ain't gonna hear no pushback from me on that. I agree. Okay, so Richmond, how do you take that from a player standpoint? I mean, as the message received, because I mean, you know, like, you know, I'm sure you dealt with some hard days where overall performance, not you, but I'm saying overall as a unit, you didn't have your coaching staff doing cartwheels. I'm sure there were days, right?
Oh yeah, and that's part of practice, part of the preparation bit. You know, it's cool he give out the orange jersey, but that shouldn't be your motivation for trying to get better every day. I think the way this team is built, they know they got something special. And I just remember when I was in training camp or whatever, when we got an opportunity to work against another team, that almost gave you like another boost of energy because you get tired of hitting your teammates, this and that. And so you bring in another team. And then when you come in, you okay, I got to be ready because I want to make a pressure on them, because sometimes there might be the same guy voting for you. Say, okay, is he truly one of the best, this and that? Because when you up there or they feel you up there, they're going to try you. So you don't want nobody to come, shine on you and this and that, and blah, blah, blah. Oh, you put his ass up to practice. No, you want to set the bar like Ballgame said. If they're not on your level, you need to show them right away. Y'all here, but you're really not on y'all level. And then you have them whispering to each other saying, oh, yeah, they the real deal. So whoever got to play them, they better be ready because they the real team. Like I said, it's got to appear mentally. It can't be all about, okay, do I get the orange jersey today or tomorrow? It's got to be about, no, you take pride in how you work this and that, and you want to be one of the best and be recognized as the best, because they don't give you no damn orange jersey at the end of the season. It's about what you put on that tape and what people see and you perform against your opponents. So they've talked about the Super Bowl. They've done this and that. I think they got the team to do it, but you got to go out and execute it consistently, and that'll take the fight out of a lot of it. But when you show up, you got to show out.
All right, let's get into training camp. Let's get into training camp today. Hold on a second. Was that Richmond? Did you hear that ball game?
Mm-hmm.
That was whoo. Richmond, I don't know what's going on. You had some serious feedback there. Yeah, you got serious feedback. Sounds like he's in the kitchen or someone's like doing dishes or something like right behind him.
Yeah.
Did you hear that, or was that just me?
No, I heard it.
I think it's gone now. Speak, Richmond. Talk, Richmond.
Testing. 1, 2, 3. Is that better?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay.
I don't know what.
Sorry about that.
I don't know what happened. What went down? All right, so let's get into this. We have. Now we got phones. This man still has a landline in 2023. Wow, the things we're learning today, huh?
My bad, fellas.
Should I be worried about a pager next? What's going on?
Hey, you don't know nothing about the pack tail in the sky page. You're too young for that, man. Slow down now.
Oh man! All right, let's play the video highlights before we get into the recap from today and before Richmond's beeper takes over the program. 400 of you in the room, smash that like button, subscribe if you're new. You know the deal. So, out there doing the shimmy shake on the sideline. Ball game when he shows up to a Home Depot. Okay. Shout out to Bobby Shouse. Shout out to who else? Josh Houts and Cash for the footage today. Looks Barry, and then look at the intensity of our O-line coach. Yeah, Lemuel. Look, watch this throw from Mike White to Chosen. Money.
I don't know if it's gonna
All
work.
right,
like
Tua.
We'll see.
7 on 7s. Underneath the mic. Tua. Ooh, Mike will touchdown. I think watch this. Is this the inbuilt throw? Yeah, watch this throw. Oh. Yes, money. Well, money in the red zone. 7. Here's Dalvin Ahmed cutting, slicing, and dicing. Tua rolling. There's the chosen. Mike White drops a dime in the bucket to Coleman. 11-on-11.
Nice ball, baby. Dingle.
I believe this is Chosen. Look at Chosen take Terrell out.
Ooh.
Shaky, bakey.
Ooh, set him down.
Oh, and he's gone. Chosen coming on. Can you say 6? Here we go. I believe this is Mike White, I believe. And this is to Tyreek. And Tyreek's just gone up that middle. Look, he just gets that outside.
Yeah, baby.
Little fight, little scuffle. Robert Hunt was in a couple. Braxton Berrios was in one today. Some scuffles. On the roll, goes the wheels.
Got space.
That was Waddle over the middle.
Jalen.
Yeah. Oh, that's another view of the same throw. Look at the motion, eh?
The motion.
Yeah, it's crazy. Rolls out. That's that chosen throw earlier that we saw that he got ripped away. Oh, big drop there by Cedric Wilson. Over the middle. Can't be affording that, Ceddy. Come on, Ced. You gotta be all over that. So Cedric Wilson with a few drops. But yeah, so guys, think about it. Only 2 days away from the first preseason game. So let's get into the recaps. Let's start off with the Miami Herald because, gentlemen, injuries, the bugs, they hit today. Jalen Waddle left practice under his own power with what appeared to be an injury or discomfort on the right side of his body near his waist. It could have been in the rib or torso area, but he wasn't clear what specifically was bothering Waddle. Waddle was on the ground for about 4 minutes after making a catch. It was unclear if he injured himself on the fall or when a Falcons defender made contact with him as he fell. He walked into the facility holding his side in his waist area. So Tua said, I did see that. I couldn't see what happened. I know he made the play, but I think Waddle's probably had one of the best camps on our team so far. I think it really started in OTAs. The first day he came, he showed up and he was out there. It's kind of unfortunate to see something like that happen. I hope it's just a couple of days, whatever. I hope it gets better. Waddle led the NFL in yards per reception last year. Meanwhile, Alec Ingold left practice and walked inside the facility with a trainer. It was unclear what happened to him. And guys, here he is. I believe this is the third time now. Running back Jeff Wilson stopped practicing after sustaining or re-aggravating a hand injury after a play in which he fumbled. He was flexing his left hand and a trainer examined it. Same hand sidelined him for a few minutes of Saturday scrimmage before he returned with 2 fingers taped together. So this is like his third injury or bang up or something like that now we're at. Justin Bethel was examined by a trainer after diving for an interception. The nature of the injury was unclear, but he was able to walk without assistance. The Dolphins once again delivered an underwhelming performance except during red zone drills, and we saw some of those touchdowns when they scored several of the touchdowns. Dolphins quarterback Tagovailoa threw the only interception today. The Falcons had 4 sacks, 1 permitted by Austin Jackson, and the Dolphins running game had several players blown up, including one by Myles Gaskin that lost 3 yards. The offensive line generated very little push. The Dolphins' best running plays. I don't know what's going on, Richmond, but something's going on with your sound again, your mic. The Dolphins' best running plays were a 10-yard run by Devon Achane and a run by receiver Freddie Swain, who's a long shot to make the team. Salvin Ahmed had a 7-yard touchdown run in red zone drills. Wilson fumbled after a 5-yard run, and the Falcons recovered. Keep in mind that Raheem Mostert did not practice today. Tagovailoa's accuracy wasn't as sharp as it usually has been, and he didn't get a lot of help with Cedric Wilson dropping an easy pass, which we showed the highlight of. Tua completed less than half his pass attempts on Wednesday. Tagovailoa was errant on the screen, threw away 2 passes under heavy pressure, and saw a pass to Robbie Chosen broken up. Tagovailoa's accuracy improved initially when the Dolphins moved practice indoors for the final 30 minutes. He connected with Berrios for 15 yards, then hit Smythe for 10. But then he overthrew River Craycraft in the end zone, and a short pass to Ahmed was broken up by a Falcons linebacker, and Tagovailoa's pass to Berrios was broken up by D. Alford. Tagovailoa under pressure, then made a bad throw with no Dolphins player near, and was picked off by Jalen Hawkins. In red zone drills, Tagovailoa was solid, including a touchdown to Julian Hill. Tagovailoa also scrambled for a 10-yard gain on one play in 11-11s. Mike White had a couple of nice throws, including a 14-yarder to Swain. In red zones, White threw a touchdown to a wide-open Hill on busted coverage. A White to Elijah Higgins completion was stopped on the 1-yard line. And White then threw a touchdown to Eric Saubert, who was wide open in the corner of the end zone. Skylar Thompson was very good in the second half of practice, throwing a 25-yard pass to Achane, who shook free in the end zone for the best offensive play of the day on the game-winning play of the final play of the day. Earlier, Thompson had thrown a 10-yard touchdown to Chosen, who has come on strong recently. Defensively, Mitchell Agudier had another sack. Kedron Smith, who has had a tough camp, was called for pass interference on one play, but also intercepted a Logan Woodside pass and returned it for a touchdown. Bethel stripped a Falcons runner on a reception, and Elijah Campbell picked up the fumble, and both returned it for a touchdown. But the referee said the pass was incomplete. Bethel then intercepted a pass from Taylor Henneke, was shaken up on the play, and walked to the sideline on his own power. A trainer looked at him on the sideline. Jalen Phillips had at least 2 sacks. Rookie Randy Charlton deflected a Falcons pass, and David Long had a tackle for a loss. Mostert did not participate, possibly for rest reasons. Wilkins did not participate in team drills for undisclosed reasons. Also out besides them were Jalen Ramsey and Crossan, Ethan Bonner, Braylon Sanders, and obviously the 2 players on the pup still, Needham and Tanner Connor. Brandon Jones, working his way back from October's ACL injury, was in a red non-contact jersey, but he did participate in about 12 plays per day in team drills. Tempers flared on 2 occasions, one involving Chosen and Micah Abernathy. Tyreek Hill got into that dust up, and another involving several starting offensive linemen of the Dolphins, including Robert Hunt, and Falcons defensive lineman. Ingold broke up something of a spat between Connor Williams and Daniel Oyemanyata. No punches appeared to be thrown. Notes from 7-on-7s. Tua threw a short touchdown pass to Ingold. A Tagovailoa pass bounced off D. Alford's shoulder pass, and Tyreek Hill caught it off the ricochet for a touchdown. White connected with Chosen on an impressive slant for a touchdown, beating Lucas Dennis. Noah Monogany did a great job hounding Kyle Pitts on one play, forcing a Desmond Ridder incompletion. Hill and former receiver of the Dolphins, Mac Hollins, now with the Falcons, dunked over the goalpost after seeing each other score touchdowns during 7-on-7s. Salvin Ahmed dropped a pass in flight from White. Thompson hit Braxton Berrios for a touchdown. Thompson couldn't connect with Chris Coleman on an end zone throw. Ritter hit Bijan Robinson for a short touchdown. Andy Van Ginkel had a pass breakup on Pitts in the end zone from Ritter. Hollins caught a short touchdown against Cam Smith. Jalen Twyman, who has flashed, had a really good rep against a Falcons offensive lineman using a nifty swim move, and Xavier Howard had a pass breakup. Okay, so I want to ask you gentlemen this. All right, here we go. So you're seeing the injuries pile up. You are seeing Jeff Wilson's been banged up multiple times already. But on the flip side, Devin Achane continues to be one of the continued bright spots of this offense, whether against our own team or in joint practices. He continues to show how explosive he is. And like I said, if Dalvin Cook's here, worst case scenario, he's running back 2 by week 8. If Dalvin Cook ain't here, he's running back 1 by week 8 by himself. So it's looking like this kid continues to gain momentum. You know, another thing we've talked about is Dalvin Cook. You know, if you wanted to come here, You didn't want to let a rookie like Devon Achane get himself comfortable and get himself acclimated and situated, because with more opportunities and more reps, more chance to show the coaching staff of what you're capable of, and in turn it might make them more comfortable of sticking with you. These are scenarios we've talked about heading into training camp. Now it seems to be playing out right before our eyes. Let me ask you guys this. You see the injuries piling up. You can talk about the injury bug all you want. Go ahead when I pass it off to you guys. But I want to ask you, from your standpoint, if you're the Dolphins, is Devon Achane halting you from, we've heard they have not upped their offer to Devon Achane from their initial lowball offer I reported. Would Devon Achane's play and Raheem Mostert, would that halt you from overly pursuing or getting aggressive in pursuing Dalvin Cook right now? Ballgame.
I think for me, man, to be completely honest with you, Cook would be more of a luxury. I think I've said that a couple times. The room is good enough to be able to. Did I freeze up?
No, you're good.
The room is good enough to. The room is good enough to compete. I think each of these guys is individually talented in their own right, and Achane just brings a whole different level of youth and enthusiasm to the position that the veteran guys need to get them fired up. I don't have an issue with Mostert. Jeff Wilson's injuries are concerned, but I do like the fact that Ahmed runs hard, runs and can run between the tackles and do a lot of the things that Jeff Wilson can give you as well. Maybe not the size factor, but all these guys will give you everything that you ask of them. They just, it's just spread out amongst a group. And, that's oftentimes not a bad thing, to be honest with you, because it makes it harder for teams to really be able to figure out who's going to be the hot guy. You know what I'm saying? And which route you're going with. But if you put a guy like Cook back there, and he's your bell cow, then they can, over the course of maybe 1 or 2 games, figure out ways to stop him. You know what I'm saying? But with the four of those guys, or even if you go out and you say you don't even want to bring in Cook and you just want to bring in a hammer, and you go get a Leonard Fournette, that creates a whole different level of versatility that, nobody in the league is really going to be able to field from that running back room. Of course, somebody might have to go out of either Ahmed or Gaskins to bring him in, but he's not going to cost you what Cook wants as well. But you're still going to get a guy who's determined to still go out and make a name for himself and is willing to do the dirty work as well. Because people forget, Fournette still one of the best pass catching backs in the league. He's just a bigger body back there with a bigger thud coming through the line. To make guys not want to come up and hit him as frequently and as often as most guys would, trying to grab out a Mostert or because those guys aren't the biggest of guys and they're not the most physical. They're gonna run away from you, but let it look for contact. At some point in games, you're gonna need a guy that's willing to just go in between the tackles.
That's what they want. That's what they want Wilson to be, right?
Wilson to be, yeah. But he seems to be something calcium deficient or something going on with him that he's getting nicked up. It's just major concern. But I always say it, like they add him, he's just a cherry on top to an already prepared dessert. So not stressing whether he comes or not. And if he does, that just makes us that much better. But if he doesn't, I think they still got guys that are capable of being able to give the running back position for this offense what it needs to be able to still move forward and be successful. So,
Richmond, your thoughts? He went to your alma mater. I mean, my whole stance has always been, no one's been pushing the Devon Achane train for longer than me in any community. Over a year, I was pushing that kid's train. And my whole thing is, hey, I'm fine either way. This kid becomes running back 1 and I look like a genius, or we go get Dalvin Cook and we have the best running back room between the 1-2 punch of Achane and Cook, and I look like a genius anyways, because that's the only reason I want Cook. People always say, reason, you've been pushing the Devon Achane. He's your guy. If any player to come out, it's been your guy. It's Devon Achane. And I say, listen, what have I said? Committee 1 year 1, Achane and Cook year 2, And then year 3, year 4, Achane is your backfield. Develop him like a quarterback. Develop him, let him learn from one of the best in the game over a 2-year span and continue. Where are you at with Devin Achane and this Cook thing? Because, brother, as a former player who got opportunities when players were holding out and you made the most of your opportunities, and that sent those guys down the river with no paddle eventually. I mean, you're an opportunist, and looks like another Texas A&M alma mater is making the most of his opportunities. Richmond?
Does that sound better, or it's still pretty bad?
Yeah, you're good.
Okay. Yeah. I think Ballgame hit the nail on the head. I think Cook, we would love to have him, but it's not a necessity. I think it is, like he said, a luxury. And then when you're holding out, like you just said, Ballgame, when you're holding out, the only way this strengthens your position is if the running backs weren't performing or wasn't showing signs of promise. But as long as those guys continue to get better and better and better, the Dolphins are going to stay right where they're at, or even maybe drop down, because they can say, we would like to have you, but we don't need you. So
yeah,
that's the gamble you play when you hold out your veteran. This and that. If it was bad where we had 2 or 3 running backs out, or they was high on guys and they wasn't panning out, then that strengthens a guy like Cook. Like, no, they need me, this and that. But that hadn't been the case, and that's the part you gamble with. But I think the longer he waits, the worse it possibly could get if these guys continue to perform the way they, because they might just pull.
Because Richmond, they might be thinking Salvin Ahmed's taking the next step too, because he's been making noise too, and they're thinking, okay, well, if Wilson goes down or if Moser goes down, we got Salvin that can step up, and that makes it even less attractive of upping the offer to Cook. No,
and that's a great point, and you got to think about it. Ahmed knows if a guy like Cook comes in, somebody's got to leave. So those guys are going to be putting their best effort to say, well, hey, if we all keep performing, we don't have to possibly worry about them bringing it in. So that's you got to be willing to gamble. And I guess Cook is. He hadn't signed yet, even with the Jets or the other teams he was negotiating with. But, as long as you can live with it at the end of the day, I'm cool with it. But I don't think it's not working out in his favor to where he can get the Dolphins to come up to offer him more money, this and that. So I think they're going to sit there and hold tight where they are, because they say we're good at that position.
All right, let's keep it rolling, boys. Let's get into the next recap, and it's from the Sun Sentinel, where the offense is so-so for the 3rd consecutive day. Defense does well yet again. And it's funny, it's always the same song and dance where even the defense is ahead. And people still panic. The Miami Dolphins offense had a bounce back day Wednesday. Its 2nd day of joint practices with the Atlanta Falcons, but it didn't bounce back much. And then obviously they had injuries to deal with. Defensively, the Dolphins were good for the 2nd consecutive day, especially the front 7, which continues a daily theme from training camp. Edge rusher Jalen Phillips had at least 2 sacks against the Falcons on Wednesday. Tua Tagovailoa didn't answer directly a question about where the offense is right now. And while he had a calm and pleasant demeanor, it seemed he wasn't happy with the offensive showing. Coach Mike McDaniel let it be known he wasn't pleased with the offensive showing Tuesday. If the goal is average, then I was super pumped, he said. All of this followed what Tua considered a so-so offensive performance in Saturday's inter-squad scrimmage. The Dolphins are off Thursday and host Atlanta on 7 p.m. But we're not off Thursday, as I will be live at 5 p.m. tomorrow with Neil Driscoll, so be on the lookout for that. McDaniel said whichever backup quarterback plays first against Atlanta shouldn't be interpreted as being in the lead to be Tagovailoa's backup. McDaniel added the second backup quarterback to play Friday will likely be the first backup to appear in the Houston game next week. So the final 20 minutes of Wednesday's practice was moved indoors, presumably because of a lightning threat. Christian Wilkins did not participate. Taron Armstead, who was recovering from off-season knee surgery, played just 6 snaps in 11-11. And gentlemen, those snaps were beside Isaiah Wynn, and I heard they were parting them like Moses with the staff. It was beautiful. Tagovailoa was up and down. He threw a bad interception to Falcons safety Jalen Hawkins, who also had a surprising 8-yard run on a bootleg as well, which we showed the clip of earlier. In between, he was good, but not necessarily Pro Bowl Tua. Tempers flared a couple of times with Robert Hunt's name popping up again. Here you go. Chosen, there you go. We're learning of another name was in the middle of the action. Attaboy. Chosen said, which one's chosen to catch this right and this left? White had a touchdown pass to Eric Saubert in red zone drills. There you go. Saubert finally popping up. Punter Jake Bailey looked good in live action from the standpoint of distance, hang time, and direction. When the Falcons punted, Salvin Ahmed appeared. He would have blocked one with a rush up the middle. So there you go. Ingold had a nice block on Carlos Davis. Ahmed, who was having a strong camp, had a nice 7-yard run to the left following the blocks of Armstead and Isaiah Wynn. Love it, baby. Bye, Liam. Can't spell Liam without the L at the beginning of the name. Cornerback Justin Bethel had an interception late in practice, and safety Keydron Smith had a probable pick 6. So there you go. Stock up. Brandon Pilley continues. The interior defensive UDFA they gave all that guaranteed money to continues to do well. Seems to be climbing the depth chart and getting more significant snaps. He faced off against Chris Lindstrom today. The Falcons Pro Bowl right guard and seemed to do okay. Stock down the offensive health. The offense could use Thursday's off day considering Sanders, Mostert, Waddle, Ingold, and Wilson have all either left practice early or didn't practice the last 2 days. Gentlemen, I want to hear you sing it with me. Hallelujah. Liam's losing. How are you guys feeling? And let's start off with the legendary Richmond Webb. How are you feeling that we're getting some answers in training camp? And one of them seems to be that, hold on, let me do the old Barry Horowitz. Hold on. Okay, that Isaiah Wynn moving to left guard is looking like not only the right move, but a starting move. And Richmond, it don't look like Liam going to be a starter by day one of come September, my friend.
Well, that's why you have training camp, and that's why you compete. I think the thing is, that was one of the concerns with a lot of fans and people were talking about in the offseason that we possibly should have brought in, some more people to strengthen the offensive line. Those was one of the areas of concern for the Dolphins with all the weapons and stuff we have. But what I am happy about, if Liam is not getting the job done, give a guy an opportunity to say, hey, if you can't get it done, let's see him. And they put Isaiah Wynn in there. And if he continues to perform the way he's performing, the film's not going to lie. And he'll be our starting left guard, and him and Teron Armstead. And then, same thing with Austin Jackson. Both of those young men have been given an opportunity. But if you're not the best, I think we should go out there and play with the best. So I'm happy for Isaiah. I think, a lot of times you let a guy get his foot in the door. That's all it takes, and you won't see it anymore. So if he keeps performing the way he's performing, that is going to be our starting left guard. And I think it's better for us because that's one position that you don't have to show up or be concerned about and say, okay, we have this one addressed. Now we just got to address maybe one more if Austin Jackson doesn't pan out and perform the way he performs, and that just makes us stronger. So I'm just glad that they're giving other guys opportunities rather than say, oh, let's try to stick with it a little longer. Like, no, either you're going to do it or you're not. Throw another guy in there. Let's see what he look like. And Isaiah's, he sees the opportunity and taking advantage of it, and I can't be mad at him. So I'm happy for him.
Ballgame. We might be saved from watching Liam Eichenberg in the screen game during the season. Tell me how your heart feels right now.
Hey, it's okay. One thing that I do know, man, that sometimes it just takes these guys a little bit of time to get right. And unfortunately, Liam just might not be ready yet to take on the responsibility of that grown man position. And that's okay. It is what it is, right? But Isaiah Wynn has a lot of history. He has a lot of quality snaps in the league, and he's definitely, without a shadow of a doubt, all of us going to be an upgrade at that position. And what we want to do more than anything, if we can have four solid guys up front, and then only one to worry about, that's a whole lot better situation than having two or three. And if Wynn is going to go ahead and submit himself as the guy, and that's one hell of a pickup that we were able to do, which is going to make sure that Tua stays upright. It's going to make sure this offense is over the top successful for the season and help with all of the things that we predict is going to be to the success of the entire Dolphins organization.
Listen, you said, what's the point of all this? The point of all this is to win, and you can't spell win without Isaiah. All right.
It ain't personal. Hey, it's never personal.
Business is never personal.
Yeah.
And we're in the business of dubs. We ain't in the business of L's. Like I said, you can't spell Liam Eichenberg without the L at the beginning. All right, let's go. All right. Isaiah, win my heart over at left guard. Let's go. Now, Sports Illustrated, they split up their observations. Omar was watching defense. Alain Poupard was watching offense. So we'll split this up. We'll go over the defensive observations with Ballgame, and we'll go over the offensive observations with Richmond. Let's start off with the defensive observations from Mr. Omar Kelly. And so the Miami Dolphins defense admittedly came out the second day of joint practice flat after outperforming the Falcons on Tuesday, outperforming their offense. Christian Wilkins was sitting out of action. The Dolphins were missing the team's emotional leader, so it likely wasn't a coincidence the defense played like a lifeless unit during one-on-ones and 7-on-7s. Desmond Ridder went 4 for 4 on a touchdown throws in 7-on-7s in the red zone, which was practice's first competitive series. But the minute the team period of practices began, the Dolphins defense clamped down on the Falcons offense. During the early period of 11-11s, the Falcons converted 1 first down and completed all of 2 passes. And for those forgetting, Jalen Ramsey, yes, he's moving along the trajectory, moving far quicker on his trajectory, but he ain't on the field yet, okay? So I love it. Run lanes were clogged, and the Dolphins pass rushers were consistently in the backfield, pressuring quarterbacks Desmond Ridder and Taylor Heinicke. Rookie free agent Keydron Smith made the first noteworthy play of 11-11, intercepting a Logan Woodside pass. But then he would get flagged a couple plays later for committing pass interference. Channing Tindall, who had a quiet training camp for the second straight year, shot the gap during an 11-11 series and was put in position to make a tackle at or close to the line of scrimmage during the outside option of Wednesday's practice. Tindall, the 2022 third-round pick, has been having a rough camp, but seemingly excels at blitzing and shooting the gap. Problem is he's mediocre at his primary job. Raekwon Davis, whose snaps have increased because of Wilkins' absence, flushed Ridder out of the pocket during Miami's 11-11 red zone period, and the Falcons' athletic quarterback scrambled right for a 9-yard gain on a drive the Falcons finished off with a touchdown. Fortunately, he missed how Atlanta scored because he was watching the skirmish between the Dolphins offense and the Falcons offense, which was seemingly centered around Robbie Chosen and Tyreek Hill. Attaboy. When his focus returned to the Dolphins defense, Emmanuel Ogbah produced a tackle for loss on Tyler Algier and fumbled and then recovered. The Dolphins sniffed out a screen pass for what would have been a tackle for a loss, and rookie defensive lineman Randy Charlton deflected a third down pass at the line of scrimmage. Jalen Phillips sacked Ridder in a hurry-up situation with 48 seconds were put on the clock, and the Falcons were placed at their own 35. The drive stalled, and in the next situational series, Justin Bethel pulled down a driving interception off Taylor Heinicke. Let's talk about something that was briefly discussed here, because I think this is a big key that people need to talk about. Ballgame. The run defense. It sounds like the run defense is picking up right where it left off, even without Christian Wilkins in that, in the rotation today. And for a team that's going to be facing a guy like Austin Eckler come week one of the best guys out of the backfield catching and running the football. How key is it for this run defense to be as stout as it was in certain points at the end of the season last year?
I think they got the memo, man. I mean, they had to have had some conversation with Mike, and the fact that Christian wasn't there, they just looked. We just look across at each other and say, "Hey, man, let's go ahead and do our job." We don't play on the offensive side of the ball, but on defense, as long as we don't allow them to score and we don't allow them to move the ball, that makes it easier for those guys over there to get their stuff together. So, I think when you have a situation, a very unique one like we have, where you really have two head coaches, with Fangio running his side of the ball and Mike doing what he needs to do on the offensive side of the ball, that makes things a lot easier. And these guys can go out there and tee off. I tell people all the time, I don't care what happens, and I don't care what happens in 7-on-7. I don't care what happens in 1-on-1s. But when you get 11 on 11, I put my best 11 out here against your best 11, and we don't give you even a first down, that tells me everything I need to know about what we are. Defense is dialed in. They got the memo. They're going to hold their end of the bargain. Now, offense just got to figure out what they need to figure out. But, that's a part of the process. Defense always comes along a little bit faster than offense does. But I do believe that as they progress, there will be a difference, measured difference in the offensive success of the Dolphins offense, and the defense is just going to stabilize themselves and stay completely steady as the unit they are right now. I don't think these guys want to do anything else other than just go out and just defeat whoever's in front of them on the defensive side of the ball, kill their will, and then make it that much easier for the offense to be in position to have good field position and things of that nature. And, at the end of the day, yeah, Christian is the heart and soul, right? He's the emotional leader of the defense, but these guys are professional enough to know that they still have a job to do. And picking up where they left off in the running game and being able to stuff the Falcons and not give them anything in their run game, and then be able to go out here and lock up on defense, that's encouraging, because there is definitely some buy-in. That tells you that they are buying in, which I tell people, the match zone concepts that Fangio was going to bring with him was going to allow these guys to fully take advantage of their athleticism, and they'll be able to play free and not have to worry about so many other rules, because everything looks like man, even though it's zone, and you can play a guy a certain type of way until he makes a play inside of you or outside of you, and then from there, it's just you, right? Just being an athlete and just making plays, and these guys are having and being afforded tons of opportunities to do that, and that's what makes this defense that much scarier, because we got a lot of great athletes on it, and I'm not at all surprised. I felt like, if anything, they want to be the ones to set the tone regardless, so that offense, it makes it easier for the offense, as opposed to the offense being able to say, "Hey man, we score every time, so all y'all gotta do out there is just not give up no points."
Yeah.
Defense always walk around with a chip on their shoulder, and it looks like to me that they just want more. They decided today to make sure that the Atlanta Falcons knew, at least on offense, their offense against our defense, y'all ain't gonna stand a chance in hell. So I'm okay with it. I think it's good. I think it's a good bounce back from the day before. They got the memo, like I said, they got the memo, and even without Christian, they dominated. So, and this is what I expect. This is what we all should expect from them. So,
offensively, this is what SI saw offensively from the Dolphins today. The practice ended with each team taking turns at running 2-minute offense and a touchdown. The only time over the 2 days where each team had only one unit on the field, and the Dolphins saved their best for last, with quarterback Skylar Thompson throwing a 25-yard touchdown pass to rookie running back Devin Achane in the corner of the end zone on the last snap. We'll start off as usual with the attendance check. Before team drills, they had the usual one-on-one passing drills, and they were going on at the same time as the 7-on-7 work near the opposite goal line. Focused on the linemen, and they can report that it was very good, if not great, period for the Dolphins. While judging who won each rep is subjective, we had the Dolphins winning 14 of the 20 reps they scored. Those who particularly stood out in the session included Kendall Lamb and rookie center Alma Ulave. On the flip side, the one player who had trouble in his reps was, drum roll please, Liam Eichenberg. In the 7-on-7 work, the play that stood out was a diving catch in the end zone by Robbie Chosen on a Mike White pass. Behind his late touchdown pass to Achane, Thompson probably deserves recognition as the most effective Dolphins quarterback on this day, though it should be noted that White didn't get a shot at running the 2-minute drill at the end. After an incompletion to start the drive, Thompson completed the next 5 passes, including 2 to Achane, 2 to Chris Coleman, and 1 to Chosen, who continues his resurgence at camp. By a very unofficial stats, Tagovailoa was 6 for 8 with 2 touchdowns. Chosen had a touchdown Thompson was 6 of 8 with 2 touchdowns. Chosen had a touchdown when he caught a quick pass at the 5-yard line, made a quick move inside, and appeared to get in the end zone without being in a position where he might have been tackled in the game situation. Mike White was also very effective, completed all 5 of his attempts in team periods. His touchdown pass was a 7-yarder to Eric Saubert after he was left wide open in the flat. Tagovailoa's numbers, meanwhile, were not good, though he wasn't helped by a couple of drops. By our stats, he was 5 of 14 with 1 touchdown and 1 interception on that 2-minute drill. It was not a good sequence for Tua, whose first down pass to Salvin Ahmed was broken up before his late throw outside to River Craycraft was batted away. On 3rd down, Tua went for Braxton Berrios deep over the middle, but Jalen Hawkins was right there in that zone to make that pick. Kind of the same way White was picked off on the last play of practice Tuesday. Tua's touchdown pass was a 5-yarder, also to rookie Julian Hill, who giving the Dolphins tight ends 2 touchdowns and 11-11 work on this day. The pass blocking by the offensive line was terrible, though the 3 quarterbacks were sacked combined 4 times. One of them came on a play where Austin Jackson was beat, while Armstead stood over the Atlanta defender after he fell or he was pushed down, and Armstead kept him from getting up. There again was a coverage sack on this day when Alama Ulave was beaten cleanly for another, and defensive lineman Albert Huggins was given a free run at White on the 4th sack. To his first incompletion of the day, ironically, just might have been his best throw. He threw a perfect pass to Chosen about 20 yards downfield inside the left sideline in tight coverage, but the Falcons defender quickly was able to get his hand on the ball. And we all saw that. We saw multiple angles of that. We showed the highlight earlier. To his last pass of his first series was a deep shot to Tyreek down the left sideline, but the Falcons had deep safety help, and it almost ended up an interception. Offensive lineman Robert Jones had a clear holding penalty on White's first snap in 11-11s. Cedric Wilson dropped a pass from Tua in the middle. We showed that highlight for all y'all. Tua dumped off a pass to Salvin Ahmed in the face of pressure, but it was off target and actually might have been a lateral. Hill had a nice diving catch off a Mike White pass over the middle after he appeared to be late in picking up the ball. A few plays later, Hill committed a flagrant holding penalty when he grabbed and threw Atlanta defender to the ground. The offense looked a bit better once practice moved inside, but still not great. On Tua's snap inside, he was sacked by Grady Jarrett. Jeff Wilson fumbled at the end of a running play in Atlanta territory, then went to the sideline. Hill did a backflip after catching a touchdown pass from White after being left wide open in the flat and backpedaling towards the goal line. But the reality is that there was a play where the Falcons had a free rusher on White, and he wouldn't have been able to get the pass off in a game situation. So all over the place with the offensive line, good, bad stuff to take away. Basically, in general, that's the theme of the offense. As a former offensive player and obviously as a former offensive star, Richmond, how would you come away with, you had an inter-scrimmage, a controlled inter-squad scrimmage, didn't go your way. You've been relatively very up and down for, 3 of the practices that have probably meant the most up into this point of training camp so far, being the 2 joint practices in the inter-squad scrimmage. How are you sitting there viewing the offense right now? What are your thoughts after reading all these takeaways about the offense and where we're at right now after 2 joint practices and a inter-squad scrimmage that were very not impressive?
Yeah, overall, it didn't sound like it was very impressive or consistent by our offense. The only thing I don't know was, they kind of criticized Tua, but did Tua just run with the ones, or were they just rolling the quarterbacks in and he was taking snaps with, all guys? A lot of time that makes a difference.
They've been doing that. They've been mixing in. Well, I know like White's gotten reps with the ones. They've been mixing guys with different units. They have been mixing guys with different units at times. So yeah, you're right.
And then, like I said, it goes against Tua, but if guys drop catchable balls, sometimes you got to take that into consideration. But I think the thing is, the one-on-ones for the offensive line, you want to perform there, but that's not a break-all deal because you're working to get better. Just that during team activities, 11-on-11 or whatever, that's when you want to minimize. I think the amount of plays that they had to give up 4 sacks. I think one of them was a coverage. I think you said Austin Jackson got beat. I didn't see how, but it seemed like he got beat pretty early, which forces sometimes the quarterback to either have to throw it away or get rid of it a lot quicker than what he has. So the main thing, and I've said it, we've all said it, everything starts up front. So we definitely got to get we got to get all that fixed. We got to be more consistent. And I think that's why you're seeing guys like Wynn getting the opportunity, because I think McDaniel knows we've got something special here, but everything starts up front. And, like Ballgame was coming on the defense. When you go 11-on-11, when you go to team drills, that's when you got to execute, because that's as closest to a game type simulation as anything, because you got 11, they got 11. And if you can shut them down as a defense, that's showing, okay, we're on and off the field, which gives our offense more opportunities to, score, drive the ball down, and wear their defense out. So I think the thing that stood out for me was the inconsistency of the offensive line during team drills. And we need to get that fixed. I'm not concerned about the drop balls and stuff like that, because I think those guys are quick there. But in order to be able to throw the ball down the field, we got to give to Skylar Thompson White. Those guys got to have time to go through their progressions and stuff and make the right read. So we got to get that fixed.
Agreed, 110%. So finally here, the stock up, stock down report for SI and Omar Kelly. This is who they have for the second joint practice. Top performer, Isaiah Wynn. They said the Dolphins gave Terran Armstead his first snaps to joint practice on Wednesday, and it was Wynn who was spotted downfield, creating a crease for Salvin Ahmed on a respectable run in the early period where the team was outside. Wynn, who was making the transition back to left guard spot. He played at University of Florida after spending his first 5 years in the NFL as an offensive tackle, showed he has the footwork to be an effective run blocker. However, there's still work to be done when it comes to pass protection if he's going to leapfrog Liam Eichenberg on the depth chart. Skylar Thompson was their number 2 performer. Hasn't gotten many reps during this week's joint practice for unknown reasons, but he made the most of his 11-11. So, that quarterback too, it keeps being up and down like the Dolphins offense right now. It's back and forth. Safety Keydron Smith was their number 3 performer here, and Vic Fangio admitted that Miami is looking for a strong safety to pair with Javon Holland. Smith, an undrafted rookie from Kentucky, caught his attention for the first time when he pulled down a pick 6 interception for Logan Woodside. He was flagged for pass interference a couple of plays later, but that interception was an announcement of his presence at training camp. And stock down, Liam Eichenberg. Eichenberg, who has started 26 of 27 games he's played for the Dolphins the past 2 seasons, is off to his worst training camp start in 3 seasons. He's in quicksand, sinking fast because of his daily struggles. For the second straight day, he was dominated in one-on-ones against the Falcons defensive linemen, and his work with various units creates doubt about his ability to be Miami's starting left guard. And what's crazy about that is when Lester Cotton and Keon Smith and all these guys were getting looked at left guard, I said, maybe it's not even as number 1. Maybe it's for a number 2, because Liam Eichenberg is playing that bad. They're seeing if he's even their second best option at guard right now. And you're seeing right there, it's not a pretty sight for Liam Eichenberg right now, man. Craziness. So quickly, guys, we'll start with you, Ballgame. Final thoughts before we get out of here? Ballgame.
I think you froze up.
I think you did too. Well, guess what? It's your turn, Richmond. Final thoughts, brother.
Hey, final thoughts is I think like Ballgame said.
Oh, there we go.
Yeah.
What are you? My bad. Somebody has to set the tone in practice. So whether it's offense or defense, everybody needs to show up and show out. That should be the mindset. So if it's the defense, 2 or 3 days out of the week, and then the offense shows up at the latter part of the week in the game, and they go and do their thing, and the defense just holds steady. That's fine, but there needs to be a balance of things, right? One side shouldn't always have to bail out the other, and I think by McDaniel's going through the process of not awarding any of those jerseys and putting these guys on notice that that their efforts on the previous day were not acceptable. That just basically dials everybody back into why they're actually out here committed to being out there in that hot sun, because it is hot. It's all but Jesus out here in Florida right now, and I think it's really speaks volumes about where these guys are in their growth process with Fangio at the helm on the defensive side of the ball. We know that there'll be some struggles, of course, right, on offense. But like I said, if they can go through the process and wins the job and shows up for those spots, you'll take that, right? Because there are a lot of teams in the league right now that you can look across, and they all have 5 studs that all across their offensive line anyway. Every team has a weak link. You'd rather not be the right tackle spot because that's the blind side for Tua. But I think over the course of time, as Austin is working to get himself back 100% fully back healthy and gets his confidence back up, he'll be good enough to be able to get us through a season and keep Tua upright. And I do believe that, unfortunately, Liam's probably going to lose out to Wynn, but the best man wins the job. And at the end of the day, this is all about business, and it's about the business of winning games. So it is what it is. I like the youth movement we got going on. A lot of these cats that are making plays that are actually out here with their names being called, the young guys, and guys are actually having an opportunity to showcase their talent inside of Fangio's defense on the opposite side. So, I ain't gonna crown nobody a victor right now at this point, but with Jalen going down, it's good to see that these young guys are stepping up and they're not giving up anything. And as a corner, I'll be the first to tell people, so y'all know this: if you don't hear about a player, that be that the player probably, without a shadow of a doubt, more than likely is doing his job, right? Cornerback position is not always sexy, but because most of y'all didn't care for Jones because he wasn't getting all the picks like X was doing. But if they over there batting down balls, or they got guys blanketed and guys can't get to catch passes, that job is that job is being done just as well. So keep that in mind as well. So if y'all don't hear names like Cam, you don't hear anything about Cato, you don't hear Noah, you don't hear X, that don't mean they're not working. That means that they're actually doing their job of covering these guys to the point that Ritter or whoever the quarterback is doesn't have any place to throw the ball. That means that they did their job pretty damn well. So keep that in mind, folks. And that's about it for me. I believe the offense will be better, though. Mike just won't want to show too much too early. So,
Richmond, your final thoughts?
Yeah, just to kind of build on what Ballgame was talking about, I really like that they're giving everyone an opportunity to win a position if a guy is not performing the right way, whether it's offense, defense, or whatever, because it just shows you're committed to winning and you want to put the best 11 out there that's going to help us be the best possible team we can be. Other thing is, football Friday, Dolphins against Atlanta. Looking forward to that. Not sure how much the ones will play, but just want to see how they perform. And then next week, they'll actually be in my backyard working against the Texans. So I'm going to go out.
You going there? You going there?
Yeah, I'm going to go out. Yeah. Me and Jalen Waddle's cousin, we're going to meet up and go over there. So I'm going to go over there and watch a little bit of practice and this and that, and then possibly go to the preseason game if I'm having to do that weekend. But yeah, definitely looking forward to going out to practice, stuff like that. That would be pretty cool.
That'll be bad. That'll be awesome. And make sure you say hi to your alma mater over there too, huh?
Oh, say hi to, you got to give a shout out to my boy. You already know that now. Well, how we do it? Come on now.
Someone in the chat said to me, hear me out, get Zach Martin. Listen, our best case scenario is that Wynn just is the answer right now, because Zach Martin's going to cost a lot. Listen, would I take Zach Martin over Dalvin Cook? Yeah, I already said this yesterday, but you'd have to double dip. You'd have to pay a premium to the Cowboys for him. Then you'd have to pay a premium to Zach Martin as one of the top guards in football. So I really honestly can't sit here and tell you how feasible that is. Now, I just think our best option for now is that Isaiah Wynn is just the answer, and Liam Eichenberg just becomes somewhat of a swing center, or maybe a swing guard or whatever the case may be. You know, I saw Black Spliff in the chat saying, Lester Cotton struggled today. Well, like I expect Lester Cotton to struggle because I know what his ceiling is. His ceiling at best is a backup rotational guy, but they keep forcing Liam Eichenberg down our throat like he's some starting caliber guy just because of where they drafted and what they gave up to move up to draft him and blah, 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 when us and them don't really already know what he really is. And right now, you got to hope at best Eichenberg can become. Eichenberg just not. I go back to when we drafted him. You got no anchor, you got slow feet, not overly athletic. You got T-Rex arms. I'm sitting next to one of the best offensive linemen that's ever lived, and I'm sure as I'm saying everything right now, as polite as Richmond is, I'm checking every box in his head of what he wouldn't want to see an offensive lineman if Richmond was a coach. Okay. Literally basically checked 4 or 5 things that kill you. By the way, Richmond, I don't know if you checked it out, but have you checked out that Netflix Untold of Johnny Manziel yet?
I gotta watch it. A couple guys told me I gotta get out. I have, but I am.
You gotta watch that, man, because I'm flashing back to, they still, even though everything he went through and put everyone through, Texas A&M, they still love their Johnny Manziel, eh? They still
love
go to
Johnny
bat.
football.
They still go to bat.
Put us on the map. I mean, nationally. I mean, when he was there, he played. I thought off the field stuff that on Saturdays, man, he was just electric, and a lot of people that didn't know about Texas A&M definitely found out because of the way he played. So, no question.
Yeah, man. When you guys beat Alabama with him, it was next level stuff, right? You guys had officially arrived. Taryn uses the 10-month membership and says our QB1's health should be priority number 1. No clue why it's not. Well, I've told you this. One of my biggest issues with Chris Grier was sometimes he treats the offensive line like the running back situation. But again, if Isaiah Wynn gives us competence at left guard and Taron Armstead can stay healthy, you got we'll be good. That left side will be good. We will be good, man. I'm not overly worried. I've heard mixed things from Austin Jackson. I've heard people tell me, hey, I'm not convinced. I've seen some bad reps. I've had other people say, hey, he looks a lot better than where he was last year at this time. So I've heard mixed things on Austin Jackson, but let me tell you this much. Everything I've heard privately or publicly, all these people agree they are far more concerned about Liam Eichenberg than they are Austin Jackson. And the man to my side right here will tell you 1 weak link is much easier to cover for on offensive line than 2 weak links. So get one of the two figured out. And the bigger, weaker link right now seems to be Liam Eichenberg. And guess what? With the people on available in free agency and our options right now, unless we're trading for someone, I don't know how much of an upgrade there is out there right now. I wouldn't necessarily call George Fant a massive upgrade, So anyways, we'll see how it rolls. I'll be back tomorrow, 5 p.m., myself and Neil Driscoll. Until next time, please, there's over 420 of you in the room. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and we will see you tomorrow, 5 p.m., and then you know what time it is. We'll be live around 6:30 on Friday to get you revved up and ready. 7 p.m. kickoff, first preseason game, live reaction coming your way. Fins up all day, every day. I'll see y'all on the next one.